I got into music very young. There's no musical history at all in my family. But my dad was a huge Beatles fan. And apparently, you never know how true these things are, but apparently I could pick out the covers of Beatles singles, old 45s, and name the song before I could talk. When I won Fame Academy, that was the first time I believe I had been in a proper recording studio, a big London recording studio. And the moment I walked in, I sort of knew that that was where I was happy. Up until then, I'd loved performing, but the moment I got in a proper recording studio, it was just a different feeling. And almost immediately began writing for other people. Another 5 years after that, after Fame Academy, I would say I kind of found my way, you know, and I knew what I was doing. Met my writing partner. That was where the nexus began. Hurts was kind of my first break, really, as a writer. I'd had a few things in Europe, but Hurts was the first big thing, certainly in Britain and then in mainland Europe. Then for the new record, they sort of decided they wanted something. I guess Hurts are quite well known, certainly in Europe, for being a little bit serious. They've always been a pop band, but they wanted to make a record that was very just big, joyful pop. And I did one song with them at the beginning, which ended up being the first single. Actually, it was a song called Beautiful Ones. And from that point onwards, every song we wrote just had that feeling. And I kind of, over the course of about 18 months, I mean, I really joined the band. We were writing almost, you know, 2-3 times a month, which when you're a songwriter is rare, you know, to spend so much time on one project. But I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I think when we finished it, you could hear that in the music. I think co-writing is the best way to avoid burnout. Even I worked as part of a duo called The Nexus for 10 years. We never had burnout because if there's one other person in the room, they will always say something that you would, or sing something that you would never have thought of. And that's all it takes to suddenly spark you into life. The best advice is really not to take the criticism to heart, which is hard. I've done it. You can't help it. The way to go over it is the next morning when you wake up, you really have to put it to one side and move on to the next thing. I'm still very, very, very into old music. I think it's because it was what I was brought up on. It'll inspire me. I love listening to old music and then taking it into something today, especially when I was working with over the course of this year, I've worked with a lot of great young artists. There's some fantastic young artists in the UK at the moment, sort of 19, 20, 21. And, you know, I'm playing them stuff by like Fleetwood Mac or even Elton, you know, the stuff that I consider classic Elton. And then we're using that in current, you know, trying to do something, I don't know. You listen to Fleetwood Mac, then you write a soul record. It's really interesting. So yeah, I'm still inspired by old stuff. In saying that, I think there's some great music around at the moment. I love Charlie Puth. I think Charlie Puth is just brilliant. I think the melodies that he comes up with are great. Same with The Weeknd. In fact, American music, I'm into. And love Adele. I was working in Record Plant in LA all of last week in the Fleetwood Mac room, and on the way to the studio and on the way home from the studio every day we listened to Rumours and we wrote some of the best music that I've done this year. I guess that's the best way to say you've been inspired. If you can listen to a record, doesn't matter what it is, and then you go and write something that you think, yeah, I'm pleased with that, then yeah, I don't care what kind of music it is, that's the best type of inspiration. So what was that, 4 hours?
Yeah.
You okay? Do you need a break?
I was holding the cough in for a minute there.
I have no idea what I said. obsessed with how Elton John played the piano. Elton John records is Elton John. So, I mean, Elton John was my hero. Even Elton, you know, classic Elton. And I would have loved to have written a song for Frank Sinatra, but he's dead.